I can. Oh, that was less a request, more of a telling me. Hello, I was voluntold. It's lovely to see you all today. Welcome. Thank you for joining. This is Molly.
And I'm Teresa.
And we're going to do line by line critique today. Please do not line by line critique my start to this stream. But the wonderful thing about writing is you can put it down and you can look at it and you can think about it and you can change. And you can, get better, plan, all that kind of stuff. And obviously, no one has ever written out a script or thought about what they were going to say before they said it. That's not possible. But with writing, it is. So, Teresa, what have we got today? What are we going to line by line critique?
So we're gonna go back to one of mine. We're gonna go back to Parking Lot Perils. We did the first page-ish last time. And yeah, it was about a page and a half, and we're just going to go back and keep working on that one. So if you are new to Parking Lot Perils, this was a short story that I wrote for a fairy tale retelling class. This is about a fairy godmother who is summoned to give a wish. Oh, good. I don't know who Coffee Create and Connect is, but welcome. And I'm so glad your husband is reviewing some of your recent edits. This is perfect. Good.
Yeah.
But Parking Lot Perils is about a fairy godmother who is summoned to grant a wish. And she's summoned by a young waitress. And the wish that she is going to grant is to go to Comic-Con. So it's meant to be a little bit spooky. The main character is in some danger. This is a dangerous fairy tale creature who grants wishes for a price. But it's also kind of humorous in that she just wants to go to Comic-Con. So, oh, you're welcome. I'm so glad you find these videos helpful. So hopefully you find tonight helpful too. And you ready to begin, Molly?
Let's begin.
All right.
All right.
And I got myself all prepared. Okay. So here we go. And so last time we were taking notes, and I think we got to around here. Let's start here with I stepped out from the shadows as Emma. Does that work, Molly?
That works. It's too small for me to read, though.
Good points. Better?
Oh, yeah. Now we're cooking with gas. Okay.
All right. Okay, so what we do with these is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to read the first couple of paragraphs, and then we'll kind of jump in. And then if we reach the points, yes, ma'am.
Do you want me to read?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. But finish your thought, because the process is still the same for everybody.
So we're going to read, and then we're going to edit. And then if we reach the point where we'd stopped reading, we're going to do it again. So read and then edit. That way we kind of get the flavor of the piece, but we're not reading the entire piece because that takes up a lot of time.
Yeah. And the reason I offered to read is because Teresa wrote this section. So sometimes when you read your own writing, you read what you think it says, not necessarily what it exactly says. Mm-hmm. So just something. All right. I stepped out of the shadows as Emma, a petite blonde wearing a red t-shirt with a cheesy pun about burgers stretched across her breasts, reached her car. She gave a small yelp when she saw me, which made the others pause, turning towards us, phones and keys in hand, ready to act. Emma, one woman called out. I sensed them watching from their cars, from their windows. If threatened enough, they'd kill me. Or at least try. They couldn't honestly, but the thought was there. But Emma didn't run, scream, or pull out her own phone to contact the authorities. She just looked at me, head cocked to the side, taking in my appearance. I'd changed my fairy godmother look over the centuries. Wings and poofy white hair was so passé now. For this century, I kept my hair short, had added a few tattoos to my arms and shoulders, and wore jeans, boots, and a t-shirt of whatever band I currently enjoyed. Are you her? She asked. I inclined my head, enjoying this moment when the Wishers realized the stories their mothers and grandmothers had told them were true.
You want to keep going
Uh,
or stop there?
I think we should stop there right now.
Like
then
it.
It's easy to remember because it's a page break.
Yep. All right.
All right. So, okay. So now we're back. We got a little context. We know what's happening in the scene. So now let's start with this sentence. I stepped out of the shadows as Emma, a petite blonde, wearing a red t-shirt with a cheesy pun about burgers stretched across her breast, reached her car.
It's a long sentence.
It's a long sentence, and it's
Yeah.
doing. I know what you're trying to do here. I know what you're trying to describe, and I love what you're trying to describe. I just think the sentence is maybe doing a little too much.
Yeah, I think so too. And yeah, and I don't like the burgers and breasts.
Yeah,
That's yeah. That was the one thing I noticed when we read that. I stepped out of
and you're trying to say that the t-shirt is stretching across her chest.
Right.
So maybe chest instead of breasts, right? That might be that's not going to fix the whole problem, but
no.
Right, you're trying to say the t-shirt stretched, not that the puns and not that the burger stretched. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's part of the problem too, is like stretched is near burgers, not near t-shirt.
Yeah.
You could just say a t-shirt or stretched across, or a cheesy pun. Yeah, you've already got it.
Cheesy. Stepped out of the shadows as Emma, a petite blonde. A cheesy pun stretched across her
t-shirt.
Yeah.
Her t-shirt. We know where t-shirts live.
I know. I did like the breast thing, but cheesy pun. Well, we could just say a cheesy pun about burgers. Cheap blonde. No, see, that doesn't work either.
Okay, well, let's read what you have now. I stepped out of the shadows as Emma, a petite blonde. Then you would need with a or something like that. With a cheesy pun about burgers stretched across her red t-shirt. Her red t-shirt.
See, it's the same problem. There's too much happening.
There's still, too much happening.
Oh, so I'm maybe gonna have to get rid of my cheesy pun. I like that.
I feel like I don't know that you have to get rid of your cheesy pun. You just might need two sentences. Like you could just have, I stepped out of the shadows as Emma, a petite blonde, reached her car. A cheesy pun about burgers stretched across her t-shirt. Right? Just two sentences. And if you want to say across her chest, then you could say across her chest here.
So the reason I really like the breast thing.
Okay, tell me.
So I like it for a lot of reasons. First of all, many shirts like this that are kind of funny and everything, either the pun is lost because the wording kind of gets lost as it gets stretched out, or the point of the pun and the wording is that it is across the breasts. And for a waitress working at one of these kind of diners, a lot of times that is very intentional and not something that she chooses. And so I kind of wanted a little, this is so subtle and everything. Hey, Erin. Erin's saying chest instead of breast. So it doesn't have to be. It's just, honestly, it's probably my filter on life that I'm adding to this.
No, I think that is a very interesting point. And I would just say, if that's something you want that the audience to know, then it might be worth like something, maybe not even here, but it could be later, right? It could be
Yeah.
all part of a theme, like it doesn't have to be obvious here. The sentence works perfectly well. Like it
Hmm.
works perfectly well the way it is. And you can either just let it be not an Easter egg, but a subtext,
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
you can highlight it more throughout, like as it's world building, right? Like this is the world that Emma lives in, and
Mm.
how she experiences it, right?
Yeah. Erin's saying she wants specificity, like the actual pun.
I think you are specific, like you're being specific here about it's a cheesy pun about burgers. I don't know that I need the actual pun. If you know what the actual pun is,
I could
but
probably come up with one.
yeah, I mean, maybe highlight and think about it. I
Yeah.
think it's, yeah.
There, in short stories, the more specific you can get, the better. Um, Let me think on that one, because that actually might be kind of a fun way to work in the indignity a lot of times that comes of working at restaurants like this.
That's very true, right? Like that would be a more obvious way to get across the point that you're making, especially if
Hmm.
the point is something about like it's some pseudo sexual pun about
Right.
boobs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. But it's not, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let me think on that one.
yeah,
I like
yeah.
that. Okay.
So the next sentence is, she gave a small yelp when she saw me, which made the others pause, turning toward us, phones and keys in hand, ready to act. Uh, I think the sentence is also doing a lot. But my first recommendation with this sentence is, instead of she gave a small yelp, I should,
Just, yeah.
she yelped.
Yep. Yep. Good catch.
Um, and then
I think I don't want to lose the previous paragraph. And I know we didn't read it,
mhm.
but that's kind of what
That was good to note because I forgot that there were other people there.
yeah. So the previous paragraph, the employee door to a chain restaurant's its windows advertising a $15.99 appetizer special opened, and the staff filtered out, their phones in hand, lighting up their faces. I don't like that sentence. I'll fix it later. Yet, despite the distraction, they all walked each other to their cars, waiting until the last person had reached the vehicles before pressing buttons, opening doors, and climbing into seats. So for me, this is part of setting the scene of it's still it's a commentary on women traveling in packs, especially to a parking lot. It's part of the whole parking lot perils. And also commentary on, we as women, we have to travel in a pack to our cars. We are not
Yeah.
safe.
I really like the last sentence, right? The women banding together to protect each other from the monsters in the darkness. I hated being one of the monsters, but we can't all be heroes.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely.
Yeah.
All right. Great.
So somebody has now stepped out of the shadows, and
Mhm.
all the women that are all in like survival, like, we might have to fight. We've got our keys in our hand. We're watching out for each other. They're all turning as one.
Yeah, I'm wondering if you want. Okay, so I get that. I get what you're telling me. I don't get that from this
From
sentence
the
here.
script. Yeah, that's fine.
Yep. Uh, so she yelled when she saw me. Maybe its own sentence, and then the
The
other
others
women
paused.
paused. I think you might need the other women.
I agree.
Yeah. And then the other women paused. Yeah, and then you can have. Then I think it works.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because like what you're saying, this is about women. This is a woman experience. Let's remind us a little bit again that it's women.
Yeah.
And Erin is putting in some wonderful puns in the chat. I encourage you, if you are watching this, to read the chat and read Erin's wonderful puns. I hope that she puts in more. Okay. Okay.
They're a bun that. You're the bun that I want. These are awesome, Erin. You're really good at this. Pickle Burger special dilemma of choice. Oh, love it. Okay. I'm gonna have to remember this.
Yeah, and then Emma, one woman called out, I sense them watching from their cars, from their windows. This I think threw me off because I didn't imagine that they
They're
were in
out.
their
Yeah.
they're not in their cars yet.
Yeah, I agree. I sense them watching. So they've already got phones and keys in hand.
Yeah.
I sense them watching me, although watching's not the right verb. I sense them.
It's
Like,
it's almost like what you wanted to say in this sentence before, like they are like this tension.
Mhm.
They're ready to act, but you have the ready. Maybe you need that ready to act, like the phones and the keys in hand. Maybe that needs to be now.
Oh, the other woman
Maybe.
paused.
Yeah, the other women paused,
I
looking in
sense
her
them.
direction.
Mm.
Yeah. And then this logically goes later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate it when it does that.
I sense them turning toward us. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. And I would maybe even say, like, instead of I sense them turning towards us, or like maybe I sensed them tense, ready to act, or I sense them grip their keys, or you know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure exactly how to say it, but she's sensing this, like, the fact that they're getting ready to potentially jump into the fray.
Yeah. Which to me, I like the turn toward us. Like at this point, they're focusing, they're unlocking their cars and then somebody yelps and all the women as one turn.
Yep.
They got their keys out and their phones are ready.
Yeah. The only logical thing here is like in the previous sentence, the women paused looking in our direction. So they've already turned. And then now you have, I sense them turn towards us, but they've already turned in that past sentence because they were looking in our direction.
Yeah. Oh, I getcha. The other woman paused. I getcha.
Coffee, Create, and Connect. You have a great question. We'll get there in a second. We're going to finish this thought and then we'll get to your question.
Yeah, I saw that question too, and I don't want to lose it. So
yep. Well, I'm just making sure we see you. We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get to the bottom of this one and then we can answer that because that's a really good question.
Yeah. Okay. So here, do you mind if we read from the top to here? Let's see what we got here. I stepped out of the shadows as Emma, a petite blonde, reached her car. A cheesy pun, says bun. A cheesy pun about burgers stretched across her breast. She yelped when she saw me. Maybe she yelped when she saw me and the other women froze.
Yeah.
Maybe we're too short there. Too many short sentences. Okay. Emma, one woman called out. I sensed them turn towards us, phones and keys in hand, ready to act, watching me. Love it. If threatened enough, they'd kill me, or at least try. And then I remember this part. So they couldn't honestly, but the thought was there. So there's a little logical problem here because the last thing you say is at least try. And then you have they wouldn't, but they would try.
I was thinking of this more as if threatened enough, they'd kill me or at least try. Yeah, they couldn't.
But you're literally saying they wouldn't try. You're not saying they wouldn't kill her. You're saying they wouldn't try. So it needs to say like they wouldn't succeed, right? Like or you have if threatened enough, they'd try to kill me. You know what I mean? Like, because right now technically it says that they wouldn't try to kill her.
If threatened
but you
enough.
mean they couldn't succeed at killing her?
No, I'm actually going for that initial thought that you have that then you talk yourself out of. If threatened enough, they'd kill me or at least try. Yeah, nah, they wouldn't. They couldn't. That's what I'm going for, is that, but I understand that's probably not coming across.
Yeah, maybe my brain is.
You know how you think something and then you talk yourself out of it?
Yeah.
But I agree. I agree. I think it's I don't think it's working.
I guess are you trying to say here that I guess I'm unsure, is it a commentary about how the women wouldn't actually act if pressed, or about
No.
how if the women did act they wouldn't be successful?
I think it's more about the fairy godmothers. Uh, what word am I looking for? Not dominance, confidence.
Okay. I mean, you could always just switch it to something like, if threatened enough, they'd attack me or they'd retaliate. And then the next sentence could just be something like, not that it'd do them much good.
Threatened enough, they'd kill me, or at least. Okay. If threatened enough, they'd attack. I like that.
Or you could keep what you have here and then just switch it. Instead of they wouldn't, they couldn't, you could have wouldn't do them much good. You could still have the wouldn't do them much good thing. That gives it clarity.
If threatened enough, they'd attack. Not that it would do them much good. Okay, that works, because it's honestly, it's about, it's really playing with this idea of threats to women, but also that, because people think, oh my God, a fairy godmother appeared, like everything's going to be good, and it's not. This is a dark character. She's used to having her own way.
I think, and then I think because of what you're saying, I think you deleted too much. But the thought was there. And instead of that, what if you say, but the threat was there?
Ooh, okay. I like that.
Yeah, not that it would do them much good, but the threat was there. Because plenty of things threaten, but they're not actually scary, or they're not actually going to hurt you.
Yeah.
But like this idea of they're going to threaten you anyway, I like it.
Okay, Coffee, Create, and Connect. Hang on just one more minute, okay? Or a little bit longer, and then we'll get to your question, I promise.
Yeah, let's finish this paragraph and then her question.
Yep.
Or their question, sorry. But Emma didn't run, scream, or pull out her own phone to contact the authorities. Okay? Mm-hmm. She just looked at me, head cocked to the side, taking in my appearance. I'd changed my fairy godmother look over the centuries. Wings and poofy white hair was so passé now. I don't know if I say that word right.
Passé.
For this century, I kept my hair short, had added a few tattoos on my arms and shoulders, and wore jeans, boots, and a t-shirt of whatever band I currently enjoyed. I don't mind this paragraph. I think it's one of those utilitarian paragraphs, Mm-hmm. And it's doing what it needs to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're getting the scene. Yeah. I could add, I kept my hair pixie short. No, not pixie short, because she talks about how the pixies are magic livers.
Yep.
Don't want
to. What's mixed metaphors?
Right. Yeah.
In this.
All right. Let's get to Coffee, Create, and Connect's question. I like that. I like this question a lot. So her question is, what is your biggest pet peeve when it comes to dialogue? Ooh, I have a bunch, but I'm a really strong dialogue writer.
What are you implying here, Teresa? I have some as well. So maybe we just talk about, instead of picking our number one, we just list some and we can have a little discussion. How about that?
Yeah, I like it.
I know one thing that both bothers you and me is all the characters sound the same.
Yep.
And none of them sound like real humans.
Yeah. And that is harder to do than I think people realize, to get the right cadence of your characters. Because a lot of times if you don't, and I'm going to use the term hear loosely, I don't hear voices, but if you're not hearing them, they sound like iterations of you, or sound like iterations of me. And I've caught myself a couple of times, and that's why a lot of times I like giving people accents, even if they don't work fully into the story, because then I can hear, using that term loosely, I hear their voices easier.
Yeah. And I think it's even more, it's not just about let me rephrase. It's how your character's brain works too. Because
Mhm.
you might have a character who, let's say you have one character who has a PhD in linguistics, and you have another character who didn't graduate high school and doesn't, doesn't enjoy language, right? They have other talents, that kind of stuff. They're not going to talk the same. They're not going to sound the same.
Mhm.
Even if they have the same IQ and they're just as smart as each other, they're not going to sound the same. They're not going to talk the same. They're not going to process the world in the same way. So, and it's not just like about the words you use, it's how they understand and interact with the world around them and react to the world around them. So,
Right.
people, I think, sometimes with dialogue think that, oh, if I vary my word choice or, stuff like that, that fixes the problem. But it's really about like, have you thought about how your character would really react in this situation and how they would like verbally respond to it? And not everyone is going to be as verbose as I am right now. And
Yeah.
certainly not everyone's going to use the word verbose.
Well, there's a huge difference. So in when a character is startled, there's a huge difference in a character who goes, "Oh my goodness," and a character who goes, "What the hell?"
Oh, okay. Yeah. Or
Um,
even shorter 4-letter words.
I was going to be good. I was going to be good. I received feedback last time to watch my language. um, but it's also yeah, I know what I was going to say. So I was working with an author who was struggling with dialogue and had that problem, where a lot of the characters sounded alike. And so I was working with him, and one of his characters is a priest, but used very, very large words. And so when I said, this character is using really large words, the author said, "Well, yeah, he's very educated." And I said, "But he's a priest." I said, "Do you think that a priest would use large words to show his education? Or would this person who is the man of the people, in this character was very much like fighting for fairness and kind of fighting the power structure, basically saying that's
Mhm.
not an appropriate power structure. He's trying to recruit, he's trying to spread the word of God. He's not going to use these giant words."
And if he did, it could be an interesting plot point about like he can't connect with people because they don't understand what he's saying.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know?
exactly. Exactly. You can make that very intentional. Um, Erin's saying her pet peeve is not summarizing boring things and putting everything in dialogue. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Yes. If, as you're writing dialogue, at any point you want to add, as you know, it should not be in dialogue, or it
Well,
should be minimally in dialogue. Sometimes you can't get around it.
I think Aaron's getting to an overall point that's not just about dialogue, but it's about writing in general
Mhm.
and what you choose to put on the page and not put on the page. And
Right.
that is like, as a writer, you're not a paparazzi following your character through every moment of every second of every day. You don't need to follow them as soon as they wake up and go brush their teeth and go to the bathroom and put on clean underwear. You don't need to tell every single thing. And you don't need to include, there's a lot of dialogue and a lot of when we talk that is boring and it's not interesting to readers, and you don't need to have it. So you need, like, writing dialogue can be really interesting and difficult because you want people to sound realistic, but only to a point. Like there's this weird area that you fit in where it's like you want people to sound human, but you actually don't want to make it sound like a real conversation because real conversations are often very boring and filled with a lot of people like repeating themselves,
Mhm.
and ahs and staggering and stutter and all this kind of stuff, which actually isn't interesting in writing.
Yeah. I read an author book and I loved it because what she said is she said, if it's not something you're going to text your best friend about, then it doesn't belong in the book. And I love thinking like that because we're not going to text our friend, hey, my coworker told me good morning and asked me if I wanted a cup of coffee. Now, you can have that, but it needs to be going somewhere.
Yeah.
The other thing too, and Erin brought this up as well, introductions. This is not how we introduce ourselves to strangers at a bar. Hi, my name is Teresa. I'm a director for a healthcare system down in San Diego. I live in Temecula with my sons and all the pets that I have. My husband, that's not how we introduce ourselves.
Or even worse is, hi, I'm Molly and I have brown hair and green eyes.
Oh, I haven't read that. That's terrible.
The verbal like verbal there is something to be said of verbal descriptions, like especially in like a conference. We can talk about that, but not in a book. It doesn't make sense, but I've seen that before.
All right, coffee, create, and connect. Does that help at all? Because we can keep going on pet peeves. I will also say accents. What is it called when you vernacular? No, not vernacular.
No, you meant
What
accents, didn't you?
Yeah.
Like
where
slang.
you. Oh no, slang is great. Slang is wonderful. You should always
Okay.
slang.
But you mean like, okay, go ahead.
Like that the actual uh like accents that you spell out the words
Gotcha.
like it's
Gotcha.
missing. Yeah.
You're not a fan of Outlander, where all of the Scottish words are like spelled out.
No. I'm fine with that. It's
it was hard.
like
It was hard to get into at first because
oh,
it is like, oh
I
yeah, you
listened to
listen.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's
It
the
was
word? Not oh, what's his word for her?
Sassenach. Sassenach?
No, such an
It's something like that.
oh well. No, that's totally fine. It's when you're talking in a southern accent, so you drop a lot of the vowels or a lot of the consonants, and you put accent marks in, and and as a reader, you're like, what?
Okay, I understand. So when the writing itself, when the dialogue itself has been so changed to fit this specific accent and what letters are dropped or changed or whatever, to not reflect the actual grammatical spelling of the words, but reflect like how it sounds, that you as a reader then have trouble actually reading what the words are.
Right. Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, I think a little bit goes a very, very long way.
Yeah, I mean, my opinion on that one is that I generally, will just write said in a blah 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 accent. Or said with a or something like that is what I usually do, because there's plenty of authors who can do it. I can't do it consistently, and I just can't. It's not me.
Need it. Yeah. I don't think you need it. The other thing I wanted to talk about dialogue is that dialogue is far more than just the words that are said.
Yes.
We as human beings, as I am sitting here with my hands doing this, body language goes a lot further, and not a lot further, but dialogue, body language is an important part of dialogue. And it's something you can have a lot of fun with. So I really recommend including it.
And I'm going to take it one step further, because I think you're absolutely 100% right. And I think like adding another layer to it is like the emotion is one like the emotional reactions that you have of people depending on your POV, right? Because your character might be saying one thing but lying while they're talking.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you portray that in not just like their words but their emotions and how then they act with their body. But then also I think another thing that people don't think about as much with dialogue, but I think is really interesting, is where the pauses happen. Because
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The beats.
dialogue is really hard to convey as text for many reasons, right? I can't convey volume as well, or tone, or stresses on words, all that kind of stuff, but you can convey pauses. And it's really interesting to stretch and pull at different places. And when you're emphasizing certain things, depending on how your characters would interact and react to each other.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to, a character doesn't have to respond to someone right away.
Right.
They
Yeah.
might sit there. They might need time to think. They might be fiddling with their hands. They might be, et cetera, et cetera. It's interesting stuff you could
Yeah.
play with.
And sometimes as well, especially if you're in first person or a really tight third person, a piece of dialogue can be a way to enter inner thoughts.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I think that is something that early writers kind of struggle with. And you were saying this too, is the reaction to things. When people say things, there's an initial reaction. For example, and I'll out myself here. I was in a meeting, I was on camera, and apparently my face was speaking for me. And I got
Been
called
there.
out on it. I got a text to watch my expression. And I didn't even realize my face was doing the talking for me. Because I had a lot of internal thoughts at the time about what was being talked about. So that's interesting stuff you can work in with dialogue as well.
I really encourage one of my favorite writing exercises for anybody who wants this. This is one of my favorite writing exercises is write a scene between two characters in which the dialogue, what they're saying, is very mundane. Maybe they're talking about breakfast. Maybe they're talking about how did you sleep last night? Something like that, something very mundane. But then they're actually talking about something else. They're actually having a fight about something else or whatever it might be. Like you can decide, but what they're saying is not with their words is not what they're actually saying.
Right.
And having a scene with two layers like that, because when we're writing, we often do that, right? Our characters often lie to each other or talk in code or all this kind of stuff. So try it. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay, Erin, I have to ask, hills like white elephants. What?
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, we don't know what that means either. But I'll also comment on what Coffee Create and Connect is saying, that it's her first novel. She's been a lifelong reader. Her mom was a librarian, and she finally decided to start writing her own book.
That's awesome.
And that is so awesome. So I hope you're in our Discord and you can kind of pop over and tell us more about that. Because that would be really cool to hear about. There's nothing like your first book. Yeah. Oh, it pertains. Erin says hills like white elephants pertains to what Molly was talking about.
Okay. But I think, Teresa, we've been talking for quite a while now.
It's a short story by Hemingway.
Oh, it's a short story by Hemingway. I'll have to check that out. Thank you, Erin. And thank you, Coffee Create Connect. Totally understand if you don't have Discord, but we love having you here anyway. We love connecting with you, and we're so happy to have you as part of our community. Any final thoughts, Teresa, for tonight as we kind of wrap up?
No, I don't think so. But really appreciate you all coming out. It really helps us a lot when you guys come and you're here live with us, and we can talk with you in the chat. It's really helpful. So Coffee, Create, and Connect. Connect. Yeah, seriously. Yeah, I can help you with that. Probably we can talk more offline, but but anyways, oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. But I think that's it for tonight. If you are interested in having your pages critiqued, either with a line by line edit or with a first page critique, what can they do, Molly?
They could sign up for our Patreon if they wanted. As Teresa mentioned, we are small creators and we have desk jobs, other jobs, real jobs, if you will. So Patreon helps support us so that we can pay for our website, for our streaming service, and for hosting competitions sometimes and giving out rewards. So that's it's very helpful. And for $5 a month, you can submit your first line or line by line critiques. Higher levels, we do brainstorming sessions. We sometimes send out small bits of merch, lots of different things here and there. So if that's interesting to you, please check that out. For those of you who already are patrons, thank you all so much for your support. We love you all so much.
Yeah. And next week is going to be one of our book tastings. We are also going to do a huge announcement about our Race to Rejection. We are restarting it and we're revamping it. And you're going to be able to win lots of cool prizes as we celebrate your rejections. And we celebrate rejections because rejections mean you are getting your work out there. And as much as they suck, rejections are a part of this industry. So good night, everyone. Take care, stay informed, and stay safe. All right. Take care.
See you next week.